So how many of you know the names of all 16 of your great-great-grandparents? Okay, so how many of you just realized a second ago that you have 16 great-great-grandparents? Right. Think about it. You've got 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, which means your squad includes 16 great-great-grandparents. And that's my challenge for you. Go have the conversations, ask the questions, and do the research to identify the names of all 16 of your great-great-grandparents. Now, this Great 16's challenge isn't just a monumental task. Family genealogy is the rabbit hole of rabbit holes. So start where you are. This was the extent of my family tree in 2016. Mom and Dad are right there above my head, and if you're like me, you know your grandparents and maybe something about your great-grandparents, even if you never had a chance to meet them. Now, my grandma Sarah turns 95 in 2 days, and she's one of my favorite people in the whole world. But like many elders, she, even before the dementia, she shied away from talking about her family. So I don't know if she knew her grandparents, but this challenge introduced me to her grandparents. So what about the grandparents of your grandparents? Very few of the people that I've asked in the last 3 years can name all 16 of their great-great-grandparents. Why is that? Social identity is defined as your sense of who you are based on your group membership. We use these communities as shortcuts to belong and connect to our squad, even in a room full of people. Where's Generation X? There you go. Hey. See? Companies call their employees family, and they team build, doing personality and behavioral assessments. Squads are meaningful to us. So why aren't we more connected to the very first community that we were born into? This was the tweet. Before 2016, I hadn't thought much about this myself. This was the tweet that sent me down the rabbit hole searching for my squad. Now, what's relevant about this tweet is not what it says or how true it was or wasn't. What's relevant about this viral tweet is I stumbled across an article that was talking about this tweet, and it mentioned a battle within the 1870 Kirk-Holden War, which I'd never heard of, between the North Carolina state militia and Ku Klux Klan members who were fighting to take over the Chatham County Courthouse. Now, the only thing I knew about Chatham County was it had some connection to a grandfather that had died long before I was born. But like any good internet rabbit hole, I was poking around to see what else I could find out about this battle and the county because it had some family connection. And my search led me here. The day after Thanksgiving, I drove with 3 carloads full of cousins to what my family refers to as out in the country to find this place. So what is this place? Well, obviously it's an active cemetery. Okay, but not any cemetery. That driveway between those houses leads to the out in the country where my grandfather is buried with his father and his mother and an uncle. But what's more extraordinary is the online records that I found about this cemetery indicated that my great-great-grandfather, whose name I first learned on those records, is also buried here. So I had to see this place for myself. And I was thrilled to know that my cousins were equally curious and up for the adventure. Now, typically, you don't think about enjoying time with family in a cemetery, but that's exactly what happened. And afterwards, I was curious to see what else I could learn about my family and the other branches of my tree. Now, my journey to identify all 16 of my great-great-grandparents has led me to some tremendous discoveries. My journey has led me to love stories. Now, this is a page in the 1866 ledger of Black couples making their way to a county courthouse to register their marriages once the state began to legally recognize them. Now, Jacob was 21 when he acknowledged that Margaret was his wife and that they had already been united for 2 years. Jacob and Margaret were married for 45 years and had 4 children together, including one of my great-great-grandparents. My journey led me to a roller coaster of family secrets, difficult truths, bold-faced lies, dead ends, and mysteries that may never be solved. The answers that you find in this challenge will lead to more questions. Questions like, okay, if John and Francis were married and Sophia was actually younger than Rachel, then how is Rachel related to Handy and Gladys? And what happened to their parents? So African Americans are told that any records of our ancestors' identity prior to 1865 are rare. This is the 1867 marriage certificate of Gwanzi and Abbey. Now, God bless the person who insisted on squeezing their parents' names onto this certificate. As of today, I don't know much about Porphyry, Jenny, or Judy other than their names. But thanks to this document, I do know that these are the grandparents of my great-great-grandmother. And knowing that shifted something inside me that's difficult to explain. So what are your squad goals? And how can you begin following your curiosity down this rabbit hole? Well, this challenge is the perfect reason to gather your family. And you don't have to be big on celebrating holidays or even wait for a special occasion to do this. Family members, people who knew them, and members of your community have the answers to your questions. So don't try to complete this challenge by yourself. This is a squad goal. And there's probably one way you're already doing this. Throwback Thursday. That's right. Pull out those family photo albums. Begin to reminisce. You'll start noticing things about your family photographs you never noticed before, like how strong the family resemblance is. See, this challenge doesn't just shift something inside of you. It touches every member of your family. Or like my nephew puts it, cool. So as I was sitting at my sister's kitchen table and we're going through boxes and boxes of photos and we're sharing stories and reminiscing and shedding even a few tears, something marvelous began to happen. This wasn't just a trip down memory lane. This was a path to understand each other and our family in a more loving and insightful way. Like, who knew curiosity could be this healing and transformative? I'll never forget taking this photograph on the left to get digitally restored. For the first time in my life, I was clearly staring in my grandfather's face, and I was able to introduce him to all his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. So think about the elders and the play cousins that may have stories and photos to share with you. Go visit your family. Yes, call those distant cousins. Introduce yourself. Yes, I know, it's awkward for a moment, but it's so worth it. Get to know your squad. As you let your curiosity lead the way and start asking questions, your family may say, I don't know anything. But every member of your family has something unique to contribute. And don't just visit the people. Since you're in the neighborhood, go look around the area. Say yes to the adventures. Travel the places where your ancestors walked, even if it brings you to a not so active cemetery. Just be sure to share your adventure with your entire squad, and please check for ticks. Okay, so this was my family tree today. I have made all of my progress by having conversations, asking questions, and doing the research using free tools and resources. So this Great 16s Challenge is a target, but it is not the purpose. I'm challenging you to expand your definition of personal growth and development. Begin to notice what it does for you to be able to call your ancestors by their names. How might it shift things about the way you love yourself? I'm challenging you to begin sooner than later. This Great 16s Challenge is easier now than it has ever been before. Think about the tremendous gift it is to be able to share with your children the strength, the courage, the beauty that they have inherited from your squad. I'm challenging you to imagine what your great-great-grandchildren might begin to understand about who they are, where they come from, and what they're capable of because of the legacy and wisdom that you have been able to pass down to those who come before you. Now, I can't tell you what insights this Great 16s Challenge will bring to you, but I hope you will begin the journey of discovering who you are. Follow your curiosity down that rabbit hole and jump in with both feet. Thank you.